The voice in my brother's hero video was mine, not similar to mine. Not a woman who happened to sound like me, mine. Old recordings flatten a voice until mostly the orders remain. I still recognized every clipped word coming through the ballroom speakers. Vehicle 2, hold the lane, nobody moves until Ortiz is clear. The left speaker rasped. I recognized the interference before the memory. My brother Owen stood beneath a 12-foot projection of the Nightglass response group logo, smiling as if the recording belonged to him. 200 guests were watching a documentary my niece Avery had made for our father's 70th birthday. Veterans, donors, local officials, museum trustees, and a county procurement representative filled the room. Owen's company was close to receiving a 3-year school safety contract worth $1.2 million, and his proposal cited the museum exhibit being dedicated that night. I sat at the last table beside the service door. The placement was deliberate. Armored vehicles crawled through dust on screen, while Owen called Nightglass the night he had taken control under fire and brought everyone home. Then my voice came through the speakers again. Bell is down. I have the team. Across the room, a woman wearing a museum badge stopped writing. Dr. Tessa Ward, the museum's oral history curator, stood near a display containing a metal box that had belonged to my friend Lena Ortiz. Tessa turned toward the technician. I stood before she could speak. Freeze it. The video stopped on an image of Owen beside a route clearance vehicle. His company logo remained in the lower corner. Then play the file from the beginning, I said. Owen looked at me. For 14 years, my family had treated silence as proof that I agreed with them. That ended before the screen went dark. Tessa faced me. Miss Calder, was that your voice? Every person in the room seemed to remember I existed at the same time. Owen answered first. My sister was part of the operation. Tessa did not look at him. That wasn't what I asked. I had come for one photograph with Avery and planned to leave before the speeches. Instead, I said, yes. Tessa turned to Owen. Then why is her voice in the Nightglass exhibit your company submitted under your name? To understand why that question stopped my father's birthday party, you have to understand the strangest rule in the Calder family. For 14 years, nobody was allowed to say Nightglass in front of me. 3 days before the party, I was repairing an infusion pump at Mercy Valley Hospital when Avery called. Hey kid, Aunt Renee, are you working? I'm holding a screwdriver in my mouth. So yes, I set it on the bench. What happened? Nothing happened. Avery only said that when something had happened, or when she wanted something. At 17, she noticed hypocrisy but still believed adults had reasons for it. Owen called her intense. I called her observant. I made a documentary for Grandpa, she said. Dad gave me old pictures and the museum let me use audio from Nightglass. My hand stopped over the inspection form. What audio? I don't know. Dad edited it. I almost told her I was not coming. Then she said Sophia Ortiz would be there and that Howard had taken Lena's metal box out of storage. Who gave it to him? I thought it belonged to the family. It doesn't. Avery went quiet. Please come. I want one picture where nobody is missing. I looked at the pump's blank display. Machines kept accurate records of what happened inside them. Families did not. All right, I said, one picture. Her relief was immediate. Really? I'll come early. I'll leave before your father starts selling emergency preparedness to the dessert table. She laughed. Then Owen's voice sounded in the background asking who she was talking to. I have to go, she said. Please don't change your mind. The call ended. The infusion pump clicked as it saved the diagnostic record. That afternoon, the sound felt like a lock giving way. I arrived at the Heritage Center 40 minutes before the party. The building had once been a county courthouse. The museum had preserved the stone columns and high windows, then filled the interior with uniforms, radios, field desks, and vehicles polished far beyond anything I remembered from service. Avery met me near the entrance wearing a black dress and combat boots. You came, you sound surprised. I had a backup plan. Which was, drive to your house and sit on your porch until you got annoyed enough to leave. That might have worked. She hugged me quickly, then stepped back as if checking permission. Howard had taught the family that I disliked being touched. I disliked being touched without warning, a distinction he found inconvenient. A printed seating chart stood beside the ballroom doors. Howard, Owen, Avery, county officials, and museum trustees were at the front. My name appeared at table 12 near the service entrance. Grandpa said you wanted somewhere quiet, Avery said. I didn't tell him that. Her mouth tightened. Howard approached before she could answer. My father had turned 70 without accepting that age applied to him. His silver hair still carried the precision of his years as County Emergency Management Director. An American flag pin marked his navy lapel, Renee. Happy birthday, I handed him a narrow-wrapped box. Inside was a restored mechanical pencil he had used during disaster planning meetings when I was a child. For half a second his face softened, then his attention shifted toward the ballroom. We've made arrangements so you won't be put on the spot. What arrangements? No one will ask you about your service. I wasn't aware I needed protection from questions. His expression settled into patience, the expression he used before telling another adult what they felt. We both know certain subjects are difficult. I asked, where did you get Lena's medal box? Howard's jaw moved once. It was entrusted to the family. Which family? This is not the place. That usually meant the place contained witnesses. He turned to Avery. Your father needs help with the video. After she left, Howard stepped closer. I want tonight to go well. So do I for Owen. The answer was Owen, not Avery. Not the museum, Owen. Howard treated his children like two emergency zones. Owen was the structure to be saved. I was the road expected to remain open. I'm here for one photograph, I said. Good, he walked away. I entered the ballroom but stopped at the exhibit along the side wall. The display was titled Nightglass, Leadership Under Fire. Owen's company logo appeared 3 times. Photographs, a radio handset, and a sanitized map surrounded a large portrait of Owen. The plaque beneath it called him the Nightglass Field Leader. That was not a military title. It was a phrase designed to sound official to people who did not know better. At the center of the display sat Lena's medal box. I knew it immediately. Her mother had chosen dark walnut because Lena hated shiny things. The hinge had a pale scratch near the back from when the funeral home director dropped it against a chair. The brass plate inside was new, in memory of Lena Ortiz. Nightglass team led by Owen Calder. The metal was brighter than the box. The screws had not aged. Someone had removed the original plate and replaced it. You see it too. The woman beside me was in her early 20s, with dark curls tied at the base of her neck. Sophia, she nodded. I had last seen her at 9, holding orange soda at a funeral she did not understand. You remember me? She asked. I remember the purple shoes you refused to take off. They were sparkly. Your mother called them a tactical failure. Her mouth lifted briefly, then she looked at the display. Why is my mother under his company logo? I was about to ask the same question. She pointed to a black and white square printed beside the metal box. That QR code goes to the scholarship fund, the Lena Ortiz Scholarship Fund? You've heard of it? My father sent me the announcement when they started it. Did he tell you how much it raised? No, more than $200,000. I looked at her. I received $3,000, she said. Total. Where did the rest go? That is what I came to ask. She touched the envelope in her purse. I brought the annual statements. Howard kept telling me the reports were too complicated, so I asked the board accountant for copies. Before I could say anything else, Avery hurried toward us. Aunt Renee, I need you for a second. She looked at Sophia, then at the display. Are you okay? Sophia said. Ask me after the speeches. Avery led me through a side door into the preparation room. Her laptop sat open beside the projection controls. Owen's face filled the editing window. I need you to watch the first 30 seconds, she said. Dad keeps changing it and I can't tell if it still makes sense. I'm not a filmmaker, you notice when people lie. That is not a technical qualification, it should be. She pressed play. The video began with aerial footage of dry terrain, then cut to an old radio waveform. Owen's recorded narration followed. Operation Nightglass began as a routine route clearance assignment. When the mission collapsed, my team was forced to improvise. I paused it. His team? That's what Dad calls it. Your father was attached to route clearance support. What does that mean? It means he was not EOD, she frowned. But he was in charge. Who told you that? Before she answered, Owen entered. He wore a charcoal suit and a company pin. At 42, he had Howard's confidence without his restraint. People liked Owen quickly, and underestimating that talent would have been a mistake. There you are, he said to Avery. Tessa wants the accession number added to the end credits. Then he noticed me. You came, Avery asked. His smile stayed in place. I'm glad. He moved to the laptop and dragged the audio clip 2 seconds to the left. Dad, that cuts off the beginning, Avery said. It's dead air. It isn't dead. Someone says something. Radio noise. I looked at the file name above the waveform NG Bell Public 04. Owen saw me looking and closed the clip panel. That file came from the museum, he said. I didn't ask, you were about to. Avery leaned over the keyboard. Why is Bell in the file name? Owen clicked Save Old Archive labeling. It doesn't matter, Marcus Bell had been my EOD team leader. Owen knew I knew that, his smile changed, not enough for Avery to notice. Just enough for me, he turned to her, use the cleaner cut. The old noise distracts from the story, then he left. Avery stared after him. What did he mean by cleaner? I think you know. She looked back at the file. Did Dad lie about Nightglass? I could have ended 14 years of confusion in one sentence. Instead, I said, play the rest. Her face closed a little. I hated myself for recognizing the movement. I had seen the same disappointment in too many people who had tried to know me. So I stayed. When my voice came through the ballroom speakers, Tessa Ward stopped the documentary after I ordered the lane held for Lena. Owen took the microphone from its stand. My sister's voice is on the recording because she was reading an EOD checklist. I was coordinating the withdrawal. Tessa stood near the sound table with her arms folded. What was your military occupational specialty at the time? Combat engineer. Were you assigned as the EOD team leader? Operations don't always follow job descriptions. No, Tessa said, records usually do. A few people near the front shifted in their seats. Howard stepped onto the stage. Dr. Ward, this is a family event. The technical questions can wait. This is also an archival dedication, she replied. Your family submitted these materials for permanent accession. Owen looked toward me with practiced concern. Renee was present. Nobody has denied that. She performed technical duties under extreme pressure, but command decisions came from me. He was not calling me unstable yet. He was preparing the room to hear it later. Tessa asked Miss Calder, what was your role? I stood near table 12. EOD technician, a man at a veterans table, looked up sharply. Owen said she was a junior member. I was a sergeant and the senior member. You had no independent command authority. That depends on who was still standing. The room changed. People stopped treating the exchange as a misunderstanding between siblings. Tessa asked, who was the team leader? Staff Sergeant Marcus Bell. And what happened to him? Howard answered before I could. Renee has difficulty discussing that part of the operation. I met his eyes. Do I? His voice lowered. Don't do this here. Again, the witnesses. I faced the room. Nightglass began as a route clearance support operation. Marcus Bell led our 3-person EOD team. I was the senior member. Sergeant Lena Ortiz was our junior technician. Owen was attached to route clearance support. He was not in the EOD chain. Owen gave a short laugh. That distinction meant very little once things went bad. It meant everything. The memory arrived in pieces. Lena tearing open a peppermint before we left the vehicle. Marcus complaining that the radio cable had been repaired with the wrong tape. Dust collecting in the seam of my glove, then the secondary blast. I left out what the ground looked like afterward. Those details belonged to people, not audiences. Marcus was injured, I said. He could still transmit, but he could not continue as team leader. Tessa asked, what happened next? He transferred responsibility to me. That isn't how I remember it, Owen said. You were 3 vehicles back. I came forward after the lane was secure. I helped move Bell. So did 4 other people. Howard raised one hand as if moderating a public meeting. This is why we agreed not to revisit the operation. Trauma alters memory. His preferred weapon was a diagnosis delivered by a man with no license and a lifetime of confidence. I continued. We had personnel trapped beyond the damaged vehicles. Lena and I maintained the cleared corridor while the wounded were moved. Marcus directed what he could over the radio until the signal failed. And then, Tessa asked, then I had the team. Sophia stood near the exhibit with both hands on the back of a chair. What happened to my mother? I faced her. She stayed with me. Until when? Until she couldn't. Her chin trembled once, but she did not cry. Howard moved closer to the podium. This is not what Lena would have wanted. Sophia answered before I could. You don't get to tell me that. Tessa looked toward Owen. Was the audio edited before submission? It was cleaned for presentation. Were words removed? We shortened it. Why? Because Renee's role was being taken out of context. He had removed my voice to prevent it from being understood as mine. Howard reached into his jacket and withdrew a folded document. We anticipated that Renee might object once she saw the exhibit. Of course they had. He held up the paper. After her treatment, Renee signed a family release authorizing us to communicate on her behalf regarding Nightglass. Owen's posture eased. This was the part they expected to win. Howard unfolded the document. Renee understood that public discussion of the operation was harmful to her recovery. She gave the family discretion to protect her privacy and present the history responsibly. Several people looked at me differently, not with contempt. With caution. Avery stood beside the projection table, pale under the screen light. "You signed that?" she asked. "Yes." Howard placed the document on the podium. "There, we should continue with the dedication." The museum chair, retired Judge Stephen Hale, approached Tessa. "If the authorization is valid, perhaps the archival questions should be handled privately." Owen turned toward the technician. "Restart the video after the audio section." For a moment they had the stage and the explanation back. After 14 years of turning silence into consent, they finally had my signature to display. Avery stared at me. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I thought keeping one promise would prevent more damage." To who I looked at Owen, he did not meet my eyes. I walked toward the podium. The release was genuine. I had signed it 6 weeks after leaving a military hospital, while sleeping in 90-minute intervals and trying to stand in grocery store lines without mapping every exit. Howard had told me reporters were calling. He had told me Owen's marriage was in trouble. He had told me Avery was 3 years old and deserved a father who was not known for one bad night. So I had authorized my father to tell extended family that I did not wish to discuss my medical condition or the operation. That was all. I pointed to the second paragraph. "This lets you protect medical information." Howard's finger moved over the lower half of the page. "It says family communications. It does not transfer my service record to Owen. It gives us discretion. It does not give you Lena." Howard's eyes shifted toward the exhibit. Then he lifted Lena's metal box from the display table and carried it beneath the glowing Nightglass Response Group logo. "Lena's sacrifice became part of the Calder family legacy that night," he said. "Owen took tragedy and built something that protects people. Her name lives through that work. The old promise broke then. Not when Owen claimed my decisions, not when Howard called my memory unreliable. It broke when my father placed Lena's metal box under a corporate logo and spoke about her as though she were property he had inherited. I stepped between him and the display. Lena is not yours to spend." Howard's face hardened. "Move. No, Renee, you are disrupting my event. You built your event around a dead woman's name." Owen came down from the stage. "Don't make this uglier than it is." I faced him. "You named your company after the operation where she died. I built a company that saves lives. You built it around a version of Nightglass where you were in charge. I was there, so was Lena. I don't see your daughter on your board." Sophia removed the envelope from her purse. Howard noticed. His eyes narrowed. Tessa stepped between the stage and the exhibit. "We are pausing the dedication," Howard turned on her. "You cannot cancel an accession over a family disagreement. I can pause it over altered source material. The recording was edited for time. The file submitted for tonight is not the same file in our public use archive." Owen said, "That proves nothing. It proves I need to check." Museum staff guided guests into the reception area while a smaller group moved into the archive conference room. Tessa, Stephen Hale, Owen, Howard, Avery, Sophia, and I went inside. The county procurement representative joined us because Owen's proposal cited the Nightglass exhibit as evidence of operational leadership. Miriam Shaw, the scholarship board's vice chair and volunteer accountant, came with the trustees who had been seated near the front. Howard placed the family release at the center of the table like a winning card. Stephen read it. "It appears Miss Calder did authorize family communication." Avery sat 2 seats away from me. "So you knew they were telling people Dad led it?" "I knew they were avoiding the details. That isn't what I asked." "No, I deserved her anger." Howard leaned back. "Renee prefers ambiguity. It lets her blame us without taking responsibility for what she signed." Owen added, "She never objected publicly to the scholarship or the company name." "I objected the first time I heard it. In private," he said. Years later, Howard looked at Stephen. "You see the problem? She remembers events according to how she feels now." The county representative glanced at me, then at the release. Owen believed there was nothing left except competing memories. Tessa turned the conference room monitor toward us. "The release is irrelevant to the archive." She inserted a drive. "Marcus Bell entered our oral history program 2 years ago. His collection included a radio extract and event log cleared for public historical use. Nightglass Response Group later requested a copy for this exhibit. Owen said correct. The file in Avery's project was labeled NG Bell Public 04. The version she received was trimmed after it left our archive. You gave it to me, Avery said to her father. I gave you a media folder. You emailed the link. I still have it. His face changed slightly. Tessa played the preservation master. Marcus Bell's voice came first, thin with pain but unmistakable. Calder, you have the team. Repeat, you have the team. My younger voice answered, I have the team. The room seemed to contract around the speakers. Owen said a radio statement in a crisis does not establish formal command. Tessa opened the event log. It listed Marcus as incapacitated and me as the senior EOD member who assumed team control. Lena appeared as the EOD team member who remained in the corridor. Owen appeared under route clearance support. Documents contain errors, Howard said. Tessa clicked one final file. Marcus appeared on screen, older and heavier than I remembered, a hearing aid behind his right ear. The interviewer asked who kept the evacuation corridor open after he was injured. Sergeant Calder, Marcus said. Renee took the team because that was the succession, and because she was the one still functioning. Ortiz stayed with her. Owen Calder did not command the EOD element. Tessa closed the folder. The tape was edited, she said. The record wasn't. Stephen moved the accession folder away from Owen's side of the table. That small movement changed the balance of the room. Owen was no longer the donor explaining history. He was the source being evaluated. The county representative opened a notebook. Mr. Calder, your pending proposal describes you as the operational leader of Nightglass. The phrase is used in a broader coordination sense. It cites this museum exhibit. The exhibit has not been finalized. Your proposal says it has. Howard placed both hands on the table. This discussion is drifting far beyond the purpose of tonight. Sophia slid her statements toward the center. No, it is finally reaching it. Howard turned to her. I told you the annual reports were complicated. You told me the scholarship was growing. It is. Then why did it pay his company more than it paid students? Owen frowned. What are you talking about? That reaction was real. Sophia opened the first statement. The Lena Ortiz Scholarship Fund raised $214,000 in 8 years. Stephen looked at Howard. You are the treasurer? I oversee distribution. Sophia placed a highlighted summary on top. 24,000 went to scholarships. 96,000 went to Nightglass Response Group. Owen looked at his father. Howard said for program development. Sophia read from the invoices. Nightglass Legacy Curriculum. Emergency Leadership Video Production, Annual Tribute Events. She tapped the final line with her pen. Every time my mother's name appears, his company gets paid. Owen reached for the documents. Howard stopped him. They are incomplete. They are the annual reports I was entitled to receive as the named family representative, Sophia said. I requested them 3 times. Miriam sent them after you stopped answering. Everyone looked toward Miriam. The figures are accurate, she said. Howard stared at her as though she had violated a private agreement. Miriam continued. I approved several payments because you described Nightglass Response Group as an independent veteran service partner working at cost. The board minutes do not identify Owen as your son. We did work at cost, Owen said. Your company reported a profit on the same service categories. Owen turned to Howard. You told me those payments came from the General Veterans Initiative. They did. This is Lena's scholarship fund. The fund's purpose is veteran education. It is a scholarship fund. Howard lowered his voice. You needed startup capital. The county needed a credible emergency training provider. I made the resources serve a larger purpose. His justification was orderly enough to sound noble until you counted the people it had consumed. The county representative asked Owen, does your $1.2 million proposal use the Nightglass leadership narrative as part of the responsible contractor assessment? Owen did not answer immediately. Howard answered for him. The story demonstrates resilience. That was not my question. Owen rubbed one hand over his mouth. Yes. Stephen asked Miriam, did the scholarship board approve the payments with full disclosure of the family relationship? No. Howard's chair scraped against the floor. I have spent 40 years serving this county. And 14 years telling everyone I could not speak for myself, I said. He looked at me with genuine anger. You were alive. The words landed harder than anything Owen had said. Howard continued, you had a pension, a profession. You could survive what happened. Owen had a child and a future that would have been destroyed by one bad night. Sophia's voice was very quiet. My mother did not survive it. Howard looked away. I finally understood the family rule. Nobody could say Nightglass around me because the word connected too many things. Marcus transferring the team. Owen leaving the position where he had been told to remain. Lena dying. Howard asking me to protect Owen, the replacement plaque. The company, the scholarship money, the contract. Nightglass had never been forbidden because they were afraid the word would hurt me. They were afraid I would finish the sentence. Stephen suspended the accession and cancelled the dedication. The existing archive would remain secured, but Owen and Howard's donated collection would not be accepted until its provenance was independently reviewed. The scholarship trustees placed Howard on temporary suspension, froze new payments to Nightglass Response Group, and scheduled an independent audit. Sophia was named the Ortiz family representative during the review. The county representative notified Owen that the contract recommendation would be paused, pending examination of the claims in his proposal. Nobody was arrested. No instant verdict arrived. Real consequences began with frozen accounts, cancelled signatures, and calls that stopped being returned. The guests had gathered in the reception area by the time we came out. A local reporter approached me before museum staff could intervene. "Miss Calder, did your brother abandon his position during Nightglass?" Avery stood 10 feet away. Owen was behind her. Howard wanted the full question answered. I could see it in his face. If I described Owen's panic publicly, he could call me vindictive. He could turn accountability into sibling revenge. I knew exactly what Owen had done. I knew how his breathing had sounded over the radio. I knew how long he had remained behind the vehicle after being ordered forward. I knew what Lena had called him when he finally moved. I also knew Avery was 17. She needed the truth. She did not need a crowd feeding on the worst moment of her father's life. I faced the reporter. My brother did not command the EOD team. He altered an archival recording and used a false version of Nightglass in business and fundraising materials. The rest belongs in the official review, not in a hallway. Are you protecting him? No, I looked at Avery. I am protecting someone who did not make his choices. Owen's face tightened. The reporter tried again, but museum staff stepped between us. Avery walked past her father and came to me. Did he tell me to cut the audio because he knew what it said? Yes. Did Grandpa know? Yes. Her eyes filled, but she refused to let the tears fall while everyone was watching. Did you know about the money? No. She nodded as if cataloging the difference. Owen approached. Avery, come with me. She did not move. You do not understand what is happening, he said. She looked at him. That is what you said when I asked about the missing 2 seconds. He stopped. Howard came toward me holding the family release. You humiliated this family. I corrected a record. You could have done it privately. You made the lie public. You think Lena would want this? Sophia stepped beside me. Stop speaking for my mother. Howard pushed the release toward me. You signed it. I took the page, folded it once, and handed it back. This let you tell relatives I was recovering. It never gave you ownership of my service, my records, or my life. I was trying to hold the family together. No, you were deciding who counted as family. His mouth tightened. You will regret turning Avery against her father. I did not ask her to stand anywhere, Avery said. That is why I believe her. Howard looked at his granddaughter as though she had broken procedure. Then he walked away. Owen remained. The company logo had been removed from the ballroom screen. For a few seconds, the final frame of Avery's documentary remained visible instead. Lena Ortiz laughing beside an armored vehicle, one hand raised against the sun. Then the screen went dark. Owen stared at it. Why didn't you tell them everything? He asked. I knew what he meant. Why had I not described his panic? Why had I not given the reporter the part that would travel fastest? Because your daughter did not need to watch a room enjoy it. His eyes moved toward Avery. I never meant for the scholarship money to come from Lena's fund. You meant to use the story. I built something useful. You built it on top of Lena. I was there too, yes. Owen really had been there. He had carried fear out of Nightglass, then spent years turning that fear into a story where he had never felt it. I did help people afterward, he said. I know. He looked almost angry that I would allow him complexity. Then what do you want? I want you to stop using her name. And the company? That will be decided by people who are not related to you. He glanced toward Howard, who stood across the lobby speaking urgently into his phone. You think he used me. I think he convinced you that being protected and being right were the same thing. Owen did not answer. For once, neither did I. 6 weeks later, the preliminary audit confirmed undisclosed payments from Lena's scholarship fund to Nightglass Response Group. Some money was returned, the rest remained under review. Howard was removed as treasurer. The county kept Owen's contract on hold, and his company stopped using Nightglass in its marketing. The museum corrected the archive. Marcus Bell was identified as team leader. I was listed as the senior EOD member who assumed control, and Lena was named as the technician who stayed in the corridor. Owen remained in the record where he belonged, route clearance support. Sophia took over the scholarship with an independent veterans nonprofit. She kept her mother's name on it because Lena had already lost enough. Howard called 11 times. I let every call ring out. I revoked the permissions he had kept long after my recovery, removed him from my emergency contacts, and mailed back the personal documents he had stored on my behalf. I did not include a letter. Owen did not call. Avery did. She came to the hospital workshop one Saturday carrying a small digital recorder still sealed in its package. I was calibrating a patient monitor when she placed it on the bench. "Is that for school?" I asked. "Partly. What is the other part?" She opened the package. The museum offered to let me redo the documentary. "You do not owe them one." "I know." She looked around the workshop at the labeled drawers and coiled cables. "I want to interview Sophia first, then Marcus Bell if he agrees." "That sounds reasonable, and you?" I put down the calibration tool. "That sounds less reasonable," she smiled faintly. "I do not want Grandpa's version. I do not want Dad's version either." "You want mine?" "I want everybody's version where it belongs." That was a better answer. She set the recorder between us. For years, the red light on a recorder had meant evidence. Something preserved, something that could no longer be denied. Avery rested her finger over the record button. Where should I start? I thought about Dust, the broken radio cable, Marcus breathing through pain. Owen frozen behind the vehicle, Lena bleeding. Those were the parts people expected because they thought military stories began when something exploded. "Do not start with the blast," I said. Avery lowered her hand. "Then where? Start with Lena. What about her?" "She carried peppermint candies in her tool pouch, even though they attracted ants. She said military coffee was a violation of international law. She could sleep through vehicle noise but woke up if anyone opened a bag of chips." Avery smiled. "That is what you remember first? It is what I want people to know first." She pressed record. The device made a soft click. This time, the sound did not open a door someone else controlled. It simply marked the moment I chose where the story began.